Ticket to Earth is a shining example of what a real game can be on mobile, without all the free-to-play gimmicks. This game is like $5 on the Google Play Store, so it's still totally reasonable, but for that price of entry, you get a solid strategy RPG with a great comic book style presentation and no ads, timers, or paid currencies. The game itself tells the story of the last few humans trying to win the fight against a robot uprising in a pretty desolate, socially divided dystopia where the rich can afford to escape to Earth and the rest are stuck defending themselves against mutant creatures, escaped convicts, and the aforementioned weaponized robot helpers. Most of the story is told through comic book panel cutscenes and optional dialogue scenes between missions, but it's all very well written and the conflict is engaging, so I wanted to read it all. The game has two heroes, one melee fighter named Rose, and one ranged fighter named Wolf. And they're both basically these trained acolytes of a strange religious sect that believes in sight beyond sight, which basically just rationalizes the gamey way you see a colored grid during combat. These combat missions play out like a mix between turn-based strategy RPGs and color-matching puzzle games, where your range of movement is determined by how many of one color you're able to clear out on your path. But enemies can move along those paths too, so your goal is to make the most movement to reach your destination, while also cutting off the other enemies' access to you, so they don't all gang up on you during their turns or cut off a potential path you wanted to take the next time. It's a complicated system, especially when you get into the larger nuance of it, but it's also really satisfying to find a long stretch that perfectly takes you across the grid, picking up stray health and coins along the way. The reason you want the longest stretch possible is twofold. For one, the number of spaces you move also determines your attack power for the next strike, with a max set by your currently equipped weapon. And it also activates a combo multiplier if you move more than 5 spaces. On the other side of things, each color is tied to your hero's abilities they bring into battle. So, as you move across the grid, you power up these skills that can be used to activate various effects, such as a powerful range strike for the melee character, or a random effect roulette attack for the ranged character. These abilities can be unlocked and swapped out in between missions, using gold you find from battles. And some abilities are better against certain types of enemies, so it's good to keep an eye on what enemy types are in a mission before choosing your loadout. The different types of tiles can affect more than just your abilities, too, as Wolf can increase his attack range by traveling over more purple eye tiles, for example, but Rose gets an attack boost for traveling over yellow hand tiles. There's actually more nuance to the combat than this, but I don't want to get too in the weeds with it. The opening tutorials ease you into the various mechanics and mission types before you even unlock Wolf, and then he has his own tutorial missions, so it never feels overwhelming. Because my usual complaint with mobile games is the free-to-play grind, I honestly don't have much negative to say about this game. But one thing that kind of bothered me was how tough it was to see the path I was creating due to the touchscreen controls and my fat fingers. But since I have a Galaxy Note phone, I was able to remedy this by just using the S Pen for combat because it's a much finer tip. But for some reason, the taps outside of combat, such as selecting your loadout abilities and activating optional dialogue scenes, don't work with the pen. So it's still kind of an annoying inconsistency where I have to remember when to use my finger and when to use the pen. It's a minor complaint though. Speaking of tapping things, there's also upgrade trees for the actual characters themselves. Skill points you earn from missions can be used to unlock nodes that increase stats or give new modifications for each hero, such as the ability to regain health by moving across a certain number of red heart spaces. The battles can be pretty tough with how many enemies you have to contend with, so these upgrades are crucial to success later on in the game. I'm still pretty early and already struggle sometimes, though I've admittedly never been amazing at puzzle games or strategy games. I enjoy both genres though, and the way this game successfully combines them makes this a unique experience unlike anything I've really played before. And the story keeps me wanting to do one more mission to see what'll happen next. It also kind of reminds me of The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which is a movie everyone should watch. Seriously, it's amazing and it's on Netflix, so you really have no excuse. You're telling me you don't have Netflix? Please. Everyone has Netflix. Oh, there's also a murderous escaped convict named Zero you have to contend with, so that's neat. Not so much the murderous convict part, but like, it's fun to have more characters named Zero, especially when you factor in the pun of his last name. It's a good name. And this is a good game. Play it. Alright, I had a little more fun with this script and video than the last one, so I think I'm getting into the swing of these mobile game reviews. You have to come at them at a bit of a different angle than you do a normal game, because you have to factor in, whether they're free to play and how unfair the monetization system is and things like that. Or if it is paid and it still has those kinds of, in-game currencies and stuff you have to spend real money on. Like, that's when it starts to get real sleazy. But then again, our AAA games do that now too, so maybe it's not so different from mobile games. Anyway, thank you for watching another one of these, and if you've seen the information up above and like any of it, feel free to follow me on those places. That's a way to say that. Sure. Okay, bye!